Have you ever found something old, something strange that just didn't feel right? Let me tell you a story that'll make you think twice about how you handle haunted objects. Sarah thought she'd found the perfect solution to her problem. A vintage music box that had been giving her the creeps. Every time she touched it, she swore those delicate metal gears were watching her, judging her. The flickering lights and bone-chilling cold spots in her house had to be connected to that cursed thing. So she did what seemed logical, decided to burn it. Despite all those warnings online, all those forum posts begging people never to destroy haunted items. It'll only make things worse, they said. But she knew better, or so she thought. The moment that music box hit the flames, everything changed. The fire erupted unnaturally high, dancing with shadows that shouldn't exist. Her dog, usually so loyal, wouldn't come within 10 feet of her anymore. And those knocks inside the walls, they followed her everywhere. But the worst part? That tall, faceless shadow with glowing eyes that now stands in her bedroom corners at night. You see, she didn't destroy the spirit, she set it free. And now it's not bound to the music box anymore. It's bound to her. Remember this, some things aren't meant to burn. Sometimes the ashes come back to haunt you. Have you ever heard a knock at your door in the dead of night? 3 sharp taps, perhaps at 2:13 a.m. That's how it started for Mara. Living alone, she wasn't expecting visitors, especially not at that hour. Through her peephole, she saw him, a man in an immaculate black suit standing motionless in the rain. But his face bore a smile that stretched impossibly wide, ear to ear, teeth gleaming unnaturally white. And he knew. Somehow he knew she was watching as he slowly turned to face the peephole. She didn't open the door that night, but he returned every single night. Same time, same knock, that terrible smile growing wider, stretching until his skin split at the corners, blood staining his pristine collar. Still smiling, still staring. The police found nothing. No footprints, no evidence. They said she was hallucinating. Then one night, the knock didn't come. Instead, she heard his voice behind her, low and clear. "Why don't you smile back?" They found her the next day. Eyes wide, jaw broken, lips split at both corners, frozen in a grotesque, bloodied grin. The only evidence? A message drawn in red on her mirror. Much better. Sometimes it's better not to answer that late-night knock. The last train of the night. That's when it happened. You know that eerie silence when you're the only passenger? That was me tonight. No conductor making rounds, no crackly announcements echoing through empty cars. Just the rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks. And then footsteps coming from the next car. Slow, deliberate. I turned and there he was, a man in a pristine black suit. But something was wrong. His clothes were completely soaked, water dripping onto the floor. His skin ghostly pale under the fluorescent lights. And those eyes just staring. The lights started to flicker. That horrible electric buzz growing louder. When they stabilized, he was closer. Much closer. I backed away, my heart pounding against my ribs. He raised one pale finger, pointing to the empty seat beside me. Then darkness, complete darkness. When the lights returned, he was gone. But the seat he'd pointed to, soaked through. And there, written in the condensation on the window, one word that made my blood run cold. Transferred. Take my advice. Never ride the last train alone. Some passengers and they never get off. They just find someone new to ride with. Have you ever felt watched while you sleep? For Jamie, that feeling became a terrifying reality when she moved into her new apartment. The rent was suspiciously low, but there was just one catch. An old mirror, bolted to her bedroom wall that the landlord insisted couldn't be removed. At first she tried to ignore it. But then the nightmares began. Every night at exactly 3:12 a.m., she'd wake to the haunting sound of nails scratching across glass and whispers she couldn't quite understand. Something was wrong with her reflection. It blinked when she didn't. It moved a second too late, like a puppet following invisible strings. She set up cameras, desperate for proof, but they only captured something more disturbing. Dark, faceless figures standing behind her reflection, watching. In desperation, she tried to smash the mirror, only to discover another sheet of glass behind it. No drywall, no wall at all. Just more mirrors. When she dug deeper, she found something chilling. Her apartment shouldn't exist, and her landlord vanished without a trace. Terrified, she sealed the mirror with boards. But that final night, she woke up paralyzed, facing the now exposed mirror. The boards were gone, and there in the glass, her reflection stared back at her, wearing a smile she wasn't making. What happened to Jamie? Well, nobody knows. But next time you catch your reflection acting strange, maybe it's not really your reflection at all. Let me tell you about when curiosity gets the better of you. We had this patient in our psych ward. That's what I thought it was. A young woman in her early 20s. When for 3 years, she was completely catatonic last month. Never moved, never blinked. The landlord was specific about one thing. Then one day, one of our nurses had a sudden heart attack. It's unsafe, he said. And that's when things got sealed strange. For a reason, he said. A student nurse last night I heard something let out this blood-curdling scream sound right above my bedroom. The patient was still lying there, motionless as ever, but I had to know. She was smiling. The boards came off easier than expected when I climbed up, flashlight in hand. At first, we thought it wasn't an attic at all. Until we noticed the pattern, no forgotten memories. The patient would flatline during surgery. I stepped into a nightmare. Someone on the second floor hung themselves. Restraints, thick, industrial-grade, bolted to the floor, and those stains. She'd smile before we even got the news. Stains along the edges. Like she knew. My heart stopped. Security footage confirmed microphones. Every single death in the building, she'd smile. This wasn't storage space. Like clockwork. This was a recording chamber. Last week, our head doctor vanished. A room designed for one purpose: to capture no struggle, no body. Just an ID badge sitting on her nightstand behind me. And yes, my flashlight started to flicker. This morning I walked past room 109 during my break. I heard it, a scream. She was still there, still smiling. But it wasn't mine, not yet. But this time she was looking right at me. Here with me. And I'm starting to realize I was never meant to leave this room alive. You know what's weird about working the night shift at a hospital morgue? The silence, it gets to you. But tonight something else is getting to me. I noticed it 3 weeks ago. Mrs. Henderson's tag dated for that night. She was still alive in the ICU then. By morning, gone. Then Mr. Robert, same thing. Each time I told myself it was just coincidence. But right now, staring at this tag with my name on it, dated for tonight, my hands won't stop shaking. I've tried calling security, but the phones are dead. The door's locked, and these fluorescent lights keep flickering like they're trying to tell me something. Wait, what's that noise? The refrigeration units shouldn't be this loud. And the drawers, they're vibrating. Oh God, something's moving inside them. I just caught my reflection in the morgue window. Except, it's not moving when I am. It's banging on the glass, from the inside. And that body bag on the table, it's already zipped up, waiting. For me, they say death comes for us all. I just didn't know it would be so punctual. Imagine living in a quiet New England town where everyone knows each other, and nothing bad ever seems to happen. But in 1986, in Pepperell, Massachusetts, a nightmare became reality for one unsuspecting family. This is the chilling story of Daniel LaPlante, a disturbed teenager who didn't just break into homes, he lived in their walls. He would secretly observe families for days, even weeks, through tiny holes he'd carved between the studs. At night, he'd creep out, eat their food, and watch them sleep. But what made this case truly terrifying was how he tormented the Andrews family. After the death of their mother, 2 teenage girls began hearing strange noises in their home. Items would mysteriously move, and they'd catch glimpses of someone watching them. Their father thought they were just grieving, but the truth was far more sinister. One day they found LaPlante dressed in their dead mother's clothes, wearing makeup, standing in their home. He had been living in their walls the entire time, watching their every move, learning their routines, and slowly driving them mad. The story of Daniel LaPlante serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes the monsters we fear aren't just in our imagination, they're literally inside our walls, waiting, watching. There's something about reflections that's always made me uneasy. Maybe it's because of what happened to Cameron. It started with a simple glare one night. Cameron had dozed off on his couch, TV running those mindless late-night infomercials. You know the ones, but that night something was different. He saw someone in the reflection, not on the screen, in it. A man standing in the dark corner behind him, wearing what looked like an old, ill-fitting funeral suit. When Cameron turned around, there was nothing there. But when he looked back at the screen, well, that was just the beginning. The next night, the man appeared again. Closer this time, just standing there, staring, with this twisted little smirk that made Cameron's blood run cold. Desperate, Cameron unplugged the TV. But that's when things got worse. The man started appearing everywhere, in the microwave, the windows, his laptop screen. Any reflective surface became a window for this thing, and every time it was getting closer. Then came that final night. Cameron woke to static from his unplugged TV. In the reflection, the man was right behind him. When he spun around, nothing. But when he looked back at the screen, he saw himself screaming. Except he wasn't screaming, his reflection was. Because it wasn't his reflection anymore. The man had taken his place, and now, well, let's just say Cameron doesn't show up in reflections these days. I took the night shift at Mercy Hill Hospice because I had to. My father's stage 4 cancer left us drowning in bills, and I was desperate. They said it was old and understaffed, but they never mentioned the silence. The kind that sits heavy on your chest like a cold weight. The first warning came on my very first night. Mrs. Langley in room 3 passed away at exactly midnight. Strange, but not impossible, right? Until the next night when another patient in room 5 died at the same time. Every clock in the building seemed to tick in perfect unison, like they were all counting down to something. Then I started hearing the whispers. The patients would talk about her, a woman in white who appears before death. She hums old hymns, they'd say with glazed eyes. You'll hear her when it's your turn. I didn't believe it until that haunting lullaby echoed through the corridors one night. I followed it to the east wing, locked since a fire 20 years ago. What I found behind that door, God, I wish I hadn't looked. A charred, mummified figure in a nurse's uniform, mouth frozen in an eternal scream. The air thick with burnt lilies and formaldehyde. Now patients are dying faster, always at midnight. But last night I found my own name written in a dead patient's chart. Room 7, midnight, Mercy Hill, and I can hear the humming getting closer. Let me tell you about something terrifying that happened to me last week. I was home alone, curled up on my couch, scrolling through my phone like any other night. The house was dead silent, except for the occasional creaking of old wood. You know, the usual house sounds we all pretend not to hear. Around midnight, I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate steps. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But then I remembered I live in a single-story house. My heart started racing. The footsteps continued, moving from one end of the ceiling to the other. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, but there was no signal. Of course, right? That's when the footsteps stopped and something even worse happened. I heard a child's laughter, clear as day right above my head. Then silence, complete suffocating silence. I ran out of my house so fast I didn't even grab my shoes. When the police arrived, they found nothing. But here's the thing. They did find footprints in the dust of my attic. Small footprints like those of a child. And they were fresh. I haven't slept properly since then. And every night just around midnight, I swear I can hear that laughter again. In every neighborhood, there's that one house where strange things happen. For Julia, it was her own. Every single night at precisely 3:33 a.m., 3 knocks would echo from her front door. Not thunderous bangs, but deliberate, methodical taps. Knock, knock, knock. The first time it happened, she did what any rational person would do. She checked. Nothing but empty darkness. The second night, she convinced herself it was just the house settling. But on the third night, as those knocks came again, something whispered through the silence. Don't open until the third knock. By the 5th night, curiosity was eating her alive. Sleep-deprived and desperate for answers, Julia set her alarm, grabbed her phone to record, and waited by the door. Her heart pounded as 3:33 approached. Knock, knock. Her trembling hand reached for the doorknob when, "Not yet," breathed a voice right behind her. She whirled around to find an empty hallway, her breath catching in her throat. Knock. With shaking fingers, she pulled the door open. Nothing but night air greeted her. Then her phone buzzed. In the recording, after those 3 haunting knocks, a gentle voice whispered, "Thank you," and behind her, footsteps began to fade. I swear it was just a normal hike that afternoon. The forest was peaceful, you know the kind. Birds singing, sunlight dancing through the leaves. I had my trusty map. Everything seemed fine when I passed trail marker 6 about an hour in. But then something wasn't right. 15 minutes later, I saw it again. That same wooden marker, number 6. I thought I must have gotten turned around somehow. Pulled out my phone, no signal, of course. So I marked a nearby rock with an X just to be sure. You know, to prove to myself I wasn't going crazy. But when I passed marker 6 again, that X I made, just gone, vanished, like it never existed. The forest had gone dead silent by then. Not a single bird call. I started walking faster, my heart pounding. The trail was straight. No turns, no forks, nowhere else to go. It didn't make any sense. That's when I stopped, turned around, and there it was again, marker 6. But this time I wasn't alone. There was something standing next to it. Tall still, face covered, just watching. And that's when I realized I wasn't lost on the trail. The trail was lost with me. You know that feeling when something seems off? That's how it started. Last night, working late, I noticed it. A button I'd never seen before in the elevator. -1, but curiosity got the better of me. The doors opened to this endless hallway, water dripping somewhere in the distance. No signs, no windows, just fluorescent lights stretching forever. And when I stepped out, the elevator just disappeared. That's when I heard them. Footsteps, not mine, getting closer, slower, deliberate. I spun around, but nothing. Just empty space and that constant dripping. Then the lights started going out, one by one, like something was chasing me. I ran so fast. And just when I thought I couldn't anymore, there it was. The elevator, open, waiting, but inside was me. Same clothes, same face, but those eyes, dead empty. He smiled, this horrible, wrong smile, and whispered, "I've been waiting to leave." Before I could move, he stepped out and something pulled me in. Now I'm trapped here, on floor -1, and someone just pressed the button. Don't get in.
Have you heard about Mirror? It's the new app everyone at school can't stop talking about. I downloaded it last night, and something's not right. At first it seemed harmless, just another face-scanning app. But then it started asking questions. Weird questions. Personal ones that no app should know about. The creepiest part? It knew my name before I entered it. Started telling me things about myself I never shared. I tried closing it, but it wouldn't let me. That's when I noticed my reflection. It moved on its own. Just slightly at first, but then more. A smile I wasn't making. A blink that wasn't mine. I can't turn off my phone anymore. The app, it whispers things at night. My contacts are changing by themselves. And then came that message. You are now a window. Welcome to the network. Today at school, I saw others. Their movements, too synchronized. Their blinks, too perfect. We're all connected now, through our reflections. Wait, did you just blink just like them? Maybe you're already part of the network too.
In the heart of Appalachia, there's a warning passed down through generations. If you hear whistling in the dark, don't whistle back. Ever. A young hiker learned this lesson the hard way. He was camping alone in West Virginia, just another adventurer seeking solitude in those ancient mountains. But at 2 a.m., something broke the night's silence, a whistle. 4 notes, slow and deliberate, drifting through the trees. Not a bird, not the wind rustling leaves, just those 4 haunting notes over and over. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was loneliness, but he did what the old-timers warn against. He whistled back. The forest fell silent. For a moment, there was nothing but his own heartbeat. Then the whistle returned, closer now. Those same 4 notes, more insistent. With trembling hands, he grabbed his flashlight and phone, stepping out of his tent. The woods seemed empty, but his phone screen captured something that made his blood run cold. A pale, grinning face hanging upside down just beyond the trees. The locals have a name for it, the Whistler. A creature that mimics sounds to lure its prey, never to be seen again, like the hiker who vanished without a trace that night. But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, a park ranger's radio crackled in the darkness. Through the static came that familiar 4-note tune, and somewhere in the distance, someone whistled back. So remember, when you're in those mountains at night and you hear a whistle, let it go unanswered. Some calls are better left in silence.